Hey guys, how's it going? Lone Hippie here. So, I'm having another issue. Well, not necessarily yet, but here soon I'm going to be traveling for the next couple of weeks. And with that, I need a way to water my plants while I'm gone. So, I've been doing some research into figuring out how I can do this. Tune in. So for one of the first ideas that I had, or that I had actually seen before, never actually tried, but having like a cup of water somehow elevated above the pot, above the potted plant, and then having a string come out and actually dripping into the plant. Now I have actually begun to try this just to see if it works. Now I have been running experiments with two different types of string now. So first is this nylon, like basketball short string, I suppose. I don't really know what to call this other than that. But I noticed that the flow rate from this one is pretty low. As for the other type of string that I decided to play around with, I've got this self-watering whipcord. As it says, it's self-watering whipcord, so I felt like that this is a good way, or a good one to start with. And I looked online that anything with cotton is supposed to be really good for this. Oh, hey, there's my reflection. But anything with cotton is supposed to be really good at wicking water. And so this morning I decided to try an experiment, honestly, just like maybe 5 minutes ago. One thing to note is if I want to get it started, get the whole cord wet first. And after just a few minutes here, you can't see that well, but there is already water wicking down here. So this is already a fantastic sign. These two different flow rates can actually be advantageous. And these different flow rates within the different types of string could be advantageous. For example, like this snake plant that we're looking at right now. This does not require that much water in order to grow. So something like the nylon can actually be very beneficial for watering a plant like this for a very long time. And as for the opposite end of the spectrum, this monstera right here. So this monstera actually requires a lot of water. And so something like this whipcord can actually be very beneficial for watering plants that require a lot more water. Another idea I had was to have like some sort of basin or coaster with water at the bottom of it. Now this can work. I have done it before. Only problem is, or there's actually a couple problems with this. For one, depends on the plant, right? You don't want to overwater one of your plants, because some plants like to have a lot of water, some do not. So of course, this can only work for some plants, right? Because you don't want to drown them out. And also, this is only a short solution. I'm going to be gone for the next couple weeks. So this could maybe last, like, let's say 2 or 3 days, maybe more. So not really that feasible. Now, going into some of the YouTube ideas, so I was actually just watching video ideas and I came across this video, which I'll leave also in the description too for you to click on and also see too. But what they had is they had plastic bottles where they just poked small holes in them and either have a sort of drip into the plant or actually stick it in the dirt like this. I have actually tried this before. The issue that I had with that is I poked too many holes inside the bottle and then it just leaked all the water immediately. What I think I'll try differently is, I mean, it's kind of hard to see in the picture, but I'll have just a couple small holes at the bottom, maybe a small hole at the top, and then have the lid on the bottle. That way it will not just drench all its water at once and then be dry for the next week or so, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. This other idea I actually got from said YouTube video. Actually having that same kind of idea with the bottle with the holes at the bottom, but in a coaster, similar to before. And the idea is that as water gets soaked up by the plant, well then, if it begins to run out of water, well then this will just drain more water in there, therefore keeping it wet for longer. Now this can work, although, like the very first issue, it only works for certain plants. So I kind of had at least like this idea seems good, as well as this idea. That way you can have some sort of basin of water that will continually drip and keep it wet. But it was their final piece of their video that I actually really enjoyed. So like the very first one, having string come out into several pots from a cup of water. But as you can see, they actually have a bottle of water full with holes at the bottom, so that of course this keeps this full of water, right? And maybe can put a plant up here or two, depending on what plant it is. But yeah, the idea is that you will have multiple strings coming from it into several different pots. So I actually thought this is a brilliant idea. So I want to thank the YouTube channel again for giving me this suggestion, because I think this is the one that I'm going to be trying out before I leave Wednesday of next week. Before I go on vacation, of course I want to test these ideas out. So here we go.
So for the first idea that I'm going to test, I'm going to try poking some holes in this bottle and sticking in some dirt. As you can tell, I struggled getting the holes inside the bottle originally, but with a little bit of heat of a lighter on the safety pin, I was able to poke the holes no problem. I decided I was going to poke some extra holes inside this bottle. That way I can just plug up the holes that I don't want to use with tape and then just continue with that. As you can tell, I left one hole at the top for airflow and then one hole at the bottom so that water can drip out of it. Let's see if this works. Now, in terms of burying the bottle, I tried to bury it as deep into the pot as possible so that it can touch the bottom. That way, as the water leaks, it's reaching the bottom of the pot and not completely filling the entire pot, not drowning the plants. As you can tell, it looks like it's leaking properly, and the rest of the soil is pretty dark and moist. As you can tell, I have some other plants here that I cut previously, but they're beginning to grow back, so I didn't want to toss them out just yet. But that's why I put this bottle right next to this basil plant right here, because the basil plant is doing the most healthy right now, and I don't want that to die just yet. And soon after, I began to notice a fatal flaw in this design, is that so much water was leaking out the bottle that it was beginning to leak out of the bottom of the pot, which means that it completely drains the bottle and then leaves the plants with no water later on. So I decided to cover up the rest of the holes with tape and close the bottle lid all the way. That way, all the water and air exchange is happening at the bottom of the pot. So hopefully this fixes the issue and it keeps the water inside the bottle a little bit longer. So it was here when I realized that the water is actually leaking faster now. So need to rethink.
So as you can see, I had a few drawbacks when it comes to those hanging pots. So I figured in the meantime, I might as well try something else. So I'm going to try the idea that I saw in the video where you poke the holes at the bottom of the bottle and then put it in a coaster and see if that works. So as per mentioned before, I poked a few holes at the bottom of this bottle to see if I can't get it to hold water and then keep a coaster nice and wet for a period of time.
As you can see, I've got the holes at the bottom of the bottle, and I decided to play around with the cap to see if I can't get different flow rates at the bottom of the bottle and see if that works.
As you can see, water level still decreasing, even though that this is already fully submerged in water. So it doesn't look like this idea is going to work. So just playing around with this, so if I've got the cap on, no water's flowing. As soon as I turn the cap, the water starts coming out. So maybe I could do something like put the cap on just a tiny bit. Maybe that'll stop it leaking so much.
What I soon realized is no matter how much I turn the cap and no matter how much I tried to submerge the bottle or tried whatever, I could not actually get this to work. So I need to go back to the drawing board with this one. One trick that seems to be working is this string and bottle trick. I've been actually keeping my plants well watered for the last several days with this technique. So it is relieving to hear, or at least see, that one of these tricks are working. Okay, here we are a couple days later, and I noticed one thing wrong with at least the nylon string. I mean, I noticed this last night, so I didn't actually get footage of it, but I noticed with this nylon string is that when the cup or bottle gets about to half full, actually this nylon string stops working. But this string right here, the whipcord, has been continually working for her probably, I would say it's been a week strong now. And as you can see, maybe you can't see that well, maybe I'll just squeeze it. There's still water dripping out the bottom of this. So at least this whipcord is rather reliable with the water, but I don't know if I trust these nylon strings anymore. Because yeah, feeling this one too, as you can see the bottle is about half full, and this is bone dry. So it looks like in terms of watering, I'm going to have to rely on this whipcord rather than this nylon string. Because yeah, once the bottle gets about halfway, yeah, then the nylon string just stops working. So yeah, looks like I'm going to have to be sticking with this whipcord. It's a good thing I got a lot of it. So here we are just about an hour or two before I leave for Phuket, and I feel like I have set everything up hopefully how I want it to be, and hopefully all the plants make it. Okay, to start off with, I've got this bottle, same bottle with the same string but plus another string going to another pothos plant over here. So I've actually got two pothos plants right here and one right here. So that's why I've got two strings, because there's two pothos in one plant. And sorry, excuse for the noise, but I'm kind of short on time. But yeah, over here I've got this little fern thing. I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't require that much light or water, because I've been sticking it in sunlight, and as you can see, it's doing alright, but not too happy. But when I had it inside, I watered it less and had less sunlight, of course, but that's when it was thriving the most. That's when you see these leaves coming out. So I'm just going to keep him right here for now. I've got another little spider plant baby right here with some other pothos right in here that are starting to grow. I know not looking too great, but again, a little bit short on time. I feel like I should also mention I've got a number of plants in water propagation at the moment, including these guys down here, including this guy right over here. So yeah, they're kind of everywhere.
next in line, so I've got another little pothos here inside a little pot, but I have him inside this little thing right here. I don't even know what to call that. I guess like outer pot. I'm not sure, but I have him sitting in there with a little bit of water. Next here I've got a big tray with some water at the bottom because these plants don't require that much water. So that's why I only have a tiny bit of water here. Then over here I've got another bottle with string dripping down into Groot's head right here, and also into the little orange tree right here. And I don't know if you can tell, maybe if I hold for a second, you'll see the water is dripping down into both this pot, this aloe vera right here, and then this other one is dripping right into here. So then at least this way, yeah, I get kind of more uses out of one drip of water. So I felt like that will suffice, hopefully. Here I've got another one of these elephant's ear in water propagation. Plus I've got another bottle with 2 strings coming down into these 2 right here. A bok choy and a mini snake plant, plus a tomato that actually kind of self-rooted. I don't know exactly how it came out, but you know what? I'm keeping it. Now here we get into this huge mess of stuff, which I hope you can to explain. So to begin with, I've got this bottle, plus this bottle with strings coming out and leading into all of these different plants. Now I tried to wrap the string around these different plants so that at least water will initially drip out once it touches the soil, but if anything, it will focus right around the plants. At least that's the main goal of these. As you can see, I've got it wrapped around at least the trunk of every plant or tree here. I also have another pothos in water propagation right there. I've got more pothoses, I don't know what the plural form is, but more pothoses with this bottle with string coming down right along the wall here. Then I've got another elephant's ear in propagation, plus more pothos. Yeah, I know it's kind of looking like a mess, but this is the best I can do at the time I have. Here you can see just a whole nother mess of stuff, but I don't know if you can be able to tell, but there's water at the bottom there. So here is the example I gave with the tray of just some water at the bottom to water these and keep them alive. Now, if I'm being honest, it is these hanging pots that I'm the most nervous about. So, and the reason why is this doesn't leak enough water to feed these plants, or at least all of them. So what I've got is this string initially wrapping around this basil right here. So that of course is going to focus most of its water around the basil, because that's the one plant that I'm actually trying to keep alive, at least out of this hanging pot. So if all others die, that is fine. I have no other seeds of this basil, so that's why I'm trying to focus particularly on this one. And again, I've got this bottle hopefully leaking water. I didn't notice that it worked previously, but considering I have no other option, this is the best I can do. So hopefully this is enough to keep at least this basil watered, and if not, the rest. Over here I've got just one string leaking out into this hanging pot right here, but yeah, I noticed that this does not require that much water. At least I water it at least once or twice a day, but it's normally still pretty wet regardless. Alright, as one final last ditch effort, I decided I'm going to put some of these larger leaves in each of these hanging pots. That way, in the hopes that it keeps a little bit more water retention inside these pots. But of course, yeah, as per mentioned before, out of the hanging pots, I'm really hoping that this basil grows out. So hence why I put so much attention up here. So yeah, hope it all works. Now, another thing that I noticed when I was preparing these plants for actually getting them ready, or at least doing these testing, this spider plant actually got overwatered, unfortunately. And that's why the leaves don't look so great, and they're floppy, but they're not drying out. So I put it out here with a little bit more light and more air circulation so that it can dry out this pot, because yeah, it was very wet this morning when I first saw it. So I'm a little bit scared for this guy right here, but yeah. Yeah, unfortunately I'm stuck with a short amount of time, so I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. Alright, so I know this was a little bit longer video than I expected it to be originally, but yeah, I hope that at least by showing all the troubles that I went through to make sure that this was going to work, I hope it was actually worth it and you guys got something out of it. But yeah, if you guys have any further ideas or have some critiques on ways that I could do it better, I would much appreciate seeing that in the comments. But yeah, well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out.